Ah, there we are.
You're listening to another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is a place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
See, he gets better at that every time. Anyway, we're back in the studio, which I'm glad to be. We've got April Robbins here, Brackett and Ellis. We're going to talk legal stuff, talk about her background. It's very interesting, and it's a good story to hear. I mean, we know each other through BNI, the BTX Connect BNI version. I brought in several people before. How did you hear BNI, by the way?
I actually go to church with the president.
Oh, Russell. Oh, my goodness. He is a character, isn't he?
And Camille.
And Camille, yes, of
She
course.
used to go to our church.
Well,
so.
Camille got me involved. She's part owner of the studio, and so so is computer jockey Taylor over there, who you met.
Computer jockey. You always have different names for me. This is weird.
The Cosmic Cowboy.
What?
The son of Elon Musk.
Okay.
You'll like that one.
That'll work.
Okay. Anyway, you got new toys. I see a new camera that kind of swivels back and forth. Look at that. See. That's
the other way.
That's what you get when you come on the show and you sponsor the show. You get high tech quality, or something like that.
And someone who knows how to work it.
Well, yeah. Well. Anyway, I've been doing this. How long we do now? What show number is
This
this?
is episode.
Okay. He's got to look it up. Nothing like dead air. Anyway.
Well, you feel it, and I'll tell you.
Well, anyway, he'll tell me when he gets around to it. Anyway, we're going to be talking today about some of the stuff you need to know as a person that's going to be dealing with an attorney. Now, what is your specialty in particular?
Well, I'm a general practice attorney.
Okay.
I primarily defend people who get sued, though. So if you ever get sued and you're in trouble, I'm the person you need to call.
And what is the motto you tell us at BNI?
If you don't know the law, know who to call.
That's right. Okay. But we'll talk about what that means and how long you've been with Brackett and Ellis and legal profession. And also, I was really interested in your story because, this isn't one of these things where, it just kind of fell into it. You had to really work to become an attorney, motherhood and, and all the things that go with that. And, when I was going to graduate school, I had started having children or whatever else, but I had support system at home with my wife to help me do it. But, it sounds like from what you told me about your story, there was a lot of, you had to have a lot of determination to get that law degree.
I worked really hard to get my law degree.
You're right.
Yeah,
More harder than the average story. So we'll be talking about that. But before we jump into that, we'll talk about our sponsors. Thank you to Daniel over at CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. So check out their webpage at CrossFit.com to see what the plans are, what the memberships are. It's actually CrossFitBurleson.com. Get the website right, dum-dum. Anyway, CrossFitBurleson.com. Check it out and you can find out their plans, their specials, times of operation, the whole 9 yards. So thank you, Daniel, CrossFit. Thank you to Shandy Stogsdill at the Realty Group, Stogsdill Group, turning transactions into relationships. She's got a couple of homes right now she's showing, and I think she closed this week twice. And do y'all do closings?
We do.
Boy, that's a beating. It really is. It's like, how many times I got to sign my name and then initial by my signature that I signed my name? Okay. Stogsdill Group, transactions and relationships, 817life.com page will also show you what's going on in the 817. Also, Rex Russell over in Cleveland, the Russell Wealth Group. Hit myfinancialbox.com. Check out his video. This is a Baylor guy, too. Now, you're a law school graduate, right?
Yep, from Baylor. Yep.
Yeah, see, that's why I wear the hat. But Russell and Rex and I have known each other for a long, long time. So myfinancialbox.com. Check out the website. Check out his introductory video. Get to know him. He can help you with the 401ks. And here's a couple of people you know. Kimmy Etheridge at Optavia, 817-789-1622.
Just signed up with her today.
Did you really?
My husband and I both.
Well, I've heard really, honestly, a lot of good things. My brother-in-law does it. And I didn't really think he was, really needing it, but he says it's been great because it's not just the weight loss, it's the weight maintenance. And so he endorses it greatly. And also I got a couple of ex-students that when they found out Kimmy was sponsoring the show, they contacted me through the usual social media ways and said, I use that too. It's great. It's wonderful. So call Kimmy at 817-789-1622. So there's another happy client. Also, we know this one too, Gayla Moore's. over at Southern Gym, over on the third floor of the Windmiller Building.
I'm a customer of Gala too.
I'm going to be one tomorrow. Robin, my wife, has the day off from school, and so she has some things she needs repaired. And I said, well, I know the person to do it. Over at Southern Gym, Gala would do it, and we go to church together and all. And I think that's going to be she's going to be very excited to go to that jewelry store because my wife knows jewelry. I mean, she used to do that way back in the day.
Have you not been there?
Oh, I've been there several times.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, but she's going to be more excited because, she loves jewelry. I'll go in there and say, oh, that's very nice. She's going to, know all about it. No, I've been there, I would guess 4 or 5 times, to visit, little sponsor care, things like that.
She's actually custom building me a ring that's going to be here any day now.
Yeah, well, there you go. Okay, well, thank you, Gayla, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right, now, you said you graduated high school, and when you were in high school, did you want to be a lawyer? Did you know that then?
I always wanted to be a lawyer.
Well, what caused that? I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a right fielder or an astronaut or whatever. I didn't think about anything serious about a career until I was like, 18.
I was in elementary school and wanted to be a lawyer. I don't know. I don't know lawyers. I didn't have lawyers in my family.
Did you know what they did, though, in elementary school?
My mom was a big Perry Mason fan, but I didn't think that was, I knew it was all fiction and fantasy, but I knew that their job in the courtroom was to help people. Mm-hmm. And I just really wanted to do that.
Yeah. And so all the way through school, you had your eye on the prize, so to speak, about being an attorney. And that's interesting. And so when you were in high school, from what you told me, you're pretty active, I guess, in high school, athletics, drill team, whatever. Didn't you go on a scholarship for drill team?
I went to college on a drill team scholarship.
See, there you go. It pays off. And then you got married.
I did, my very first year of college.
Well, and see, that's what the story that I find to be fascinating, because a lot of people, when they get married, their career ambitions, educational ambitions kind of go to the side. Yeah, they say, well, maybe later. And I teach a lot of people like that at my job at Hill College, and I really respect them. I really do. My night class, I got people in their 30s. I got one, or in 40s too. I got one in my night class in Cleburne in Mondays that's 77. And, she's well past, working for a
average
career.
School.
Yeah.
Age.
Yeah. She just wants to have a degree because she tried to get her kids through school and her grandkids through school. Now it's her turn. But anyway, I'm taking up your time. So you got on,
Well, what's interesting, kind of like your student right there, is I was the last of 7 kids, and my mom didn't have a high school education.
Mm-hmm. Did she push education though hard?
She did not with my older siblings, and she did not with me, but I was motivated to go to school anyway. Mm-hmm. But when I was a senior in high school, my mom went to nursing school, and her nursing classes were at my high school, so we rode to school together.
Yeah, okay. So it was like the nursing classes like through a community college in Brownwood?
It was a government program.
Oh, okay.
And she got paid to go to school.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, yeah. She had worked as a taxi driver and what they call a package clerk, the sales assistant at the liquor store, and a waitress, and she got to go to school to be an LVN, and we rode to school together. It was pretty
nice.
cool.
Yeah, I bet it is. So you from, like you mentioned, Brownwood, then you went to Cisco, then you got married, and then you had a child not long after that, and so you were, man, going through it. I mean, you're married and you're having a kid and you're 19 years old, and, and that's, and, what you were telling me before the show about, your husband was moving for his job back and forth in the oil field. And
so I went to school my first year at Cisco Junior College on a drill team scholarship. The next time I got to go to school was I drove to Uvalde, to Southwest Texas Junior College, and I completed a year there. Then we moved back to Brownwood, and I started commuting to Tarleton and had my second child while I was in Tarleton. And I tell you what, you want to clear a hall, be the pregnant student walking down a college hall.
Yeah, I've had pregnant students, in college and in high school, and I I have a different attitude. When I was younger in my career, I thought, you know, maybe they had made a mistake, but they didn't. I don't think I think they were brave in what they were doing and raising their children as opposed to taking alternatives.
Right.
And on that note, by the way, kind of a side promotion, I'll be having Next Step Women's Center on next Thursday. Talk about a fundraiser they got going on. But anyway, I'll talk more about that at the end. But you know, I've had kids in high school that bring their kids to class, and that happens at Hill a lot. It hadn't happened at Dallas Baptist yet, you know, but at Hill and at the high school, they would bring their children if they had no other.
I did that.
Yeah.
My son went to law school with me a few times.
Now, you went to law school at Baylor, which I'm very proud to say.
I did.
Were the professors accommodating to having a small child in the classroom?
My son was threatened with his life, and so he was very quiet. They were fine.
Well, you know, when I had him in the back of the room, you know, they'd see some mom and she's taking notes or doing a test or whatever she's doing, and she's rocking the bassinet with one hand and writing with the other, and you know, and I'm up there talking about, you know, Andrew Jackson or something like that, and you'd hear the baby giggle, and now everybody's distracted, like, oh, geez. You know, but I brought my kids to school a couple times when I was working, and my children were very young, and my wife was working, and the babysitting fell through, you know, or something like that. So I had no other options. So I brought the kids, and I'd have like a dozen girls per class go, oh, I'll take care of your son.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get the notes from somebody else. I don't mind taking, you know, your 4-year-old around to school and getting them some candy or whatever. And like, I know what's happening here. You're trying to get out of my class, you know?
Well, mine were 3 and 6 when I went to law school.
Mm-hmm. So you graduated from Tarleton.
I did, summa cum laude.
Yes, that's another thing I noticed, because I checked out your resume, I'm afraid to say,
It's okay.
on Brackett and Ellis website, and I saw you graduate with honors. That's impressive. To do that with
2 kids.
2 kids, and you know, being married and all this other business, that's impressive. And so did you choose Baylor over others, or is that the school you'd been planning on going to all this time?
I actually didn't think I was going to get to go to law school.
Mm-hmm.
So my undergraduate degree from Tarleton is a business degree. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to be a high school business and computer science teacher. Mm-hmm. And so I took COBOL and all those wonderful
Fortran and all that.
Assembler. I was really good at assembler.
See, we're dating ourselves here.
Yeah, it's okay. Pre-Windows, pre-Windows, folks. And I was in a graduate program because I thought I can't be a teacher. I'm just not wired that way.
Well, what do you think was just the dealing with the kids or whatnot? Or the administration actually was my issues?
A little of both.
Yeah.
I just didn't. I didn't feel called to that. I knew I wasn't supposed to do that.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
So I started my master's program, and I was going to be an administrator because I'm really bossy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Works out well.
Uh-huh.
And my professor said something one day. He goes, well, when you're a teacher, blah, 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 blah. And I said, I don't want to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, really? And he said, yeah. And I said, really? I want to go to law school. He said, so go to law school. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of sat there a minute and thought, how am I going to tell my husband I want to go to school 3 more years? Because he thought we were looking at the end of that road.
That would be an interesting conversation.
It was a very interesting conversation.
Well, apparently he said, I'm on board.
He said, let's go. We sold our house. We sold... we gave the dog to my mom. He sold he had a little fishing boat.
Wow.
And we packed up and we moved to a little apartment in Waco.
Ah, beautiful Waco. And there's so many nice apartments to choose from.
No, it was a pit.
Right. I mean, when I lived in Waco in an apartment when I was at school there, it wasn't exactly the top of the market there at all.
Oh, huge roaches.
Oh yeah. I mean, we had roaches that you basically saddle up if you wanted to.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Fortunately,
were you near the campus?
No, not really.
Okay.
I was on industrial, south Waco, but my husband actually accidentally caught the apartment on fire one time when I wasn't there. And we had tenant insurance because I'm just a planner. Mm-hmm. And when they came in and they replaced all the carpet and stuff, Never saw another roach. It was awesome.
Yeah, well,
They went somewhere else.
I guess they said, no, what is easier place to get where I grew up than this? But, you know, I lived near campus, and you could tell the status of their students because I'm living in like this dump, but I didn't really care. But you had the other students who are living in high-dollar condos, like, okay, I get it. But anyway, so you went to 3 years at Baylor. Did Baylor help you with that? I mean, did they have scholarships, aid, anything like that?
I did not really get scholarships. No.
Well, back in our day, you know, scholarships weren't quite as necessary as they are. I mean, Baylor is a lot more expensive now, unfortunately, than when I went to school there. And you could make it work without being independently wealthy.
Right. No, mine was all student loans.
Yeah.
When I graduated law school, we called my student loans our summer home. You know, I'm paying for a summer home because my student loans were actually more than our first house cost.
Really?
So, yeah.
You must have really wanted it, though.
I really wanted it.
I guess so. Did you enjoy your time at Baylor?
I loved Baylor Law School.
Did you really? Because I have some friends that went to Baylor Law School, and they have similar experiences there. They really loved it. They liked it better than the undergraduate part when they, you know, had several. At Baylor had like this 3-in-3 deal. You can get your undergrad in 3 and then law degree in 3. And I had some friends that did that, and they enjoyed the law school part more than the undergraduate part.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. My second year of law school, I didn't know, honest to goodness, I didn't know law school was competitive.
Oh my, yes.
I'd just been through college. I graduated. I'm like, I want to go to law school. I sat down and I go, okay, if I'm going to uproot my family, my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old, and my husband's going to just quit his job and we're going to move, I need to pass the bar.
Yeah.
So Baylor had at that time been almost without exception first on the bar exam for like 10 years in a row.
Right.
And so that's the only application I sent in.
Yeah.
And I was in my second year of law school before I found out there were 1,500 applications for 150 spots. I'm like, I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
So
the easiest, if you want to call it easy, way to do is be an undergraduate at Baylor, of course. But I knew some people that did not make it, and they ended up going to other law schools. And I guess they're doing fine because I haven't seen them in a while. But I know it's very competitive to get in, and know it's competitive to stay in. You know, and that and when I was in the business school at Baylor, there was a similar competitive spirit in the banking schools and all that we had because at the time banking was a real hot field, and so everybody was trying to fall all over themselves to get noticed and whatever else. And it's probably the same with law school.
yeah, law school, it was intense. Intense. There were 70 students in my law school class.
And so you joined a sorority, I suppose, and no.
The only thing I joined in law school was Christian fellowship.
I just
Christian
can't
Legal Aid
I
Society.
can't imagine, you being a Pi Phi or something like that.
No.
Chi Omega with 2 kids.
Well, it was really interesting because they would say, my kids were 3 and 6, and my husband had just this time-consuming job during law school. He actually became a Schwann's man.
Yeah, right.
And so he would leave at 7 in the morning and not get home till 11 at night. So it was kind of like being a single mom with extra laundry.
Well, for those who don't know what Schwann's is, it's food delivery. It's like a miniature store on wheels.
Yeah.
Because my cousin up in Kiowa County, whom I refer to quite often on this show, they have a Schwann's guy that comes by about once a month, and they'll buy meat and stuff from them. You know, that's something these younger generation had no idea about.
The Schwann's man's still out there.
Yeah, but I bet he's more rural and
Very rural. That's why he was gone long days.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't something that you'd see in downtown Fort Worth or anything or Burleson even, but you'd see it out.
There's a Schwann's man in Burleson.
Is there really?
I've seen him.
Okay. Well, he needs to be on this show. Anyway,
so he worked really long hours, and the students would say, I don't know how you go to school with 2 kids. And I said, I don't know how you go to school with all your free time.
Yeah.
Because you go to the movies and you go to, go drink beer and go do, all that stuff, and you're distracted, and I can't be.
Yeah. So you weren't going to all the ball games and such as that?
Never did.
Never. Oh, that's too bad.
As a matter of fact, my last year, my husband is a Schwann man. He was in Mahia, and somebody knocked on his door because a artist, a singer, a performer was doing a show, and they needed for him to move his truck. And it was Garth Brooks.
Is
It
that
was when
right?
Garth Brooks first was really starting to get big. And Garth Brooks offered my husband front row seats to his concert. And I said, no, I'm studying for the bar.
Wow, that's driven right there. Because, that probably, those tickets probably have some, monetary value now. A lot of people buy that kind of stuff on eBay and whatnot. Garth Brooks, how about that? So you really were focused on it. So you got a degree, got past the bar, obviously.
First time,
First time.
which was my goal.
Yeah. And then did you start working with Brackett and Ellis, or did you start moving through various?
I actually had
firms?
worked in the summer at two different firms in Dallas. And one was a civil practice, much like I'm in now. And the other one was an aviation practice.
Oh, you mentioned in our BNI meetings, you specialize in aviation policy.
For 6 years, I did defense aviation.
I mean, that's a pretty specific field.
It's awesome.
Yeah, you liked it?
I loved it.
Okay. Well, on the other side of the commercial break, I want to ask about that then, because that's not, I guess we don't think of it like that narrowly tailored to the legal field. We think of lawyers and we think about either criminal defense or whatnot, but we don't, but aviation law, that's a fairly specific calling, so to speak. So how long have you been with Brackett and Ellis?
It'll be 20 years
Really?
this summer.
Is it common to stay with a firm more than, that long, or is it common for attorneys to be bouncing around various firms?
Well, now it's not common.
Yeah, right. It's like school teaching. I mean, when I joined Burleson High School, there were teachers that had been there 20, 30 years. And for my first 10 years at the high school, I was still one of the junior members in terms of tenure and age until, that we had about a 4-year period where a lot of teachers retired. But for my first decade there, you didn't see a lot of hopping around between jobs. Now, this generation, not just in teaching or law firms, but every generation or every profession, they bounce around all over the place.
We actually have an attorney at our firm who was the first associate who started there in 74.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of longevity.
Yeah. And so I think that is a good thing. It says a lot about your firm that if they want to stay there that long, that there must be something going on. But you've been there 20 years. Now, for those who don't know where Brackett and Ellis is, where is it?
We're at 100 Main Street. We're on the corner of Main and Weatherford. I mean, right downtown, a block or so from Sundance Square.
Yeah, and you're right across the street from the courthouse.
Yes.
Which is convenient, I'm sure. Just walk across the street for many of your cases and whatnot.
Yeah.
Is that where most of your cases are held?
Mine personally, no.
Okay.
I'm all over the state. But, now in the last 2 years, practicing all over the state has gotten so much easier because so many courts, now they have your hearings. They're all by Zoom. I had a trial in January on Zoom.
That to me personally would sound a bit awkward. It's like when I try to teach on Zoom, or DBU has Blackboard, which some of my younger listeners might know it. It gets the job done, but don't you think being in person is more effective?
I wouldn't pick a jury. I did a bench trial in front of the judge because I like the jury, and I like to talk to them, and I like to be face to face with them, and so we didn't have a jury because we were going to trial, and I'm like, we'll just do it with the judge.
Do you get to make that choice? Okay.
Well, if either side picks a jury, you have a jury, but neither of us chose to do that.
Okay.
Given Zoom,
so if you're representing somebody, the defendant doesn't get like first call. If the plaintiff also has to agree to it to do a bench trial. Okay.
Well, you have to elect a jury, and neither of us filed an election for that.
Okay. I see. Well, so I'm going to jump into the second round of commercials. I'm going to talk more of the legal stuff now. I'm going to see about what you do and what Brackett and Ellis does. So, there to go. There's Our Place Restaurant. We've been there several times. That's where I do my one-to-one meetings for BNI. He's a really good man, Otto. I don't know if you met him yet, but you've been there a couple times for one-to-one meetings, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, Our Place is a great place, and he's very generous in this community. He gives not just gift cards away, but he also is just a good place for community activities to take place in. So thank you, Otto, for all you do. When I was sick with COVID, he brought me some of his soup, which is excellent, and he brought me, shall we say, more traditional medicine than what would be prescribed at your pharmacy. It's called...
Thank you, Otto.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Our Place Restaurant, and it's a good place. And also, thank you to Wild Cigar and Culture. This is a former student of mine, as with Daniel Baisden, as with Shandy Stogsdill. I got like 4 or 5 former students that sponsor this, so I'm very humbled by that. Wild Cigar and Culture, are you a cigar smoker?
Never smoked a cigarette or anything.
Well, it's not just a cigar place. It's a very nice bar. It's a place to go, and you can they have a really big humidor, and they're also going to have a big Super Bowl party, guys. So if you have a desire to go and have a drink and have a cigar, Wild's the place to do it, because you'll have the Super Bowl going on. I went there a couple of days ago, as my son-in-law was helping me move furniture, and he likes cigars, so we went over there and bought some as a gift for his help, and it's a huge humidor. So if you know anybody that smokes or whatnot, likes cigars, then you can pick up some cigars, or a gift card probably work, and then go pick out what they want. And so we'll hope to see you there Sunday. Also, Proactive Payment Solutions, another former student, Antonio Basallo. If you have a point of sales operation and you need a better one, he can find it for you, save you some money. If you don't have one, he can set you up with one. So contact proactivepaymentsolution.com and have Antonio help you with your system and save you a few bucks. And Antonio's a good guy. He has a very interesting story. We're going to be doing a special show with him as soon as we can get it put together on a Saturday, because he is a working man. So there you are. Also, another former student, Payne Beagles Technology Solutions. Make your home a smart home. Oh, he has an ad. I'm going to read it to you right now. My formerly nicotine-stained fingers. No, that's Rush Limbaugh's routine. Sorry. Anyway, it says, when you need help with the big things like turning your house into a smart home, or transforming the technology in your business, or the little things like migrating your data to a new computer, or setting up parental controls in your home network, Beagles Technology Solutions provides seamless integrated technology solutions to help you meet your goals through on-site and remote support. Our services have also expanded to include aerial photography and videography. You need aerial photos to help with real estate advertising, roof inspections, construction progress, surveys, or any other projects. We can provide HDR and 4K content to help you enhance your business. So visit beaglestech.com or 817-944-3572. I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, and his wife works for a nonprofit in Fort Worth for autism. And she's going to be on the show, I believe, a week from Monday. Have her in the show. Talk about, I like to have these nonprofits, because it makes me feel good. And the sponsors like it too. So there you go. But it's part of the community aspect of the show, the neighborhood part. Also, Tiffany Griffin, hope you're feeling better. I know you've been under the weather a bit. Local Life magazine. It actually works. Yesterday was an HEB. I have an ad in there, and I was an HEB, and somebody called, and I said, I didn't know the guy. He said, I just saw your ad. What is this Burleson Radio? What's it going on? And all this other stuff. So it really works. It does get your attention out there. But Local Life Magazine, tx.com is the website. The magazine should be in your mailbox now. It goes to 30,000 homes. Maybe Brackett and Ellis could advertise. Maybe.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, I know. You probably don't handle that part, though.
I don't.
I know. But it goes to about 110,000 people in this area. And she's expanding more into Joshua. That's her plan anyway. So there you are. And then lastly, Burleson Radio, your voice, your station, playing your favorite hits right now on Live 365. And so this is what I was talking about yesterday with the gentleman at HEB. And he just want to know what we're playing, whatever. And he said, well, check it out. So check it out. Find out what we're playing. It's probably one of your favorite songs right now. What kind of music do you like? Me? Yeah.
I like contemporary Christian music. Mm-hmm. I like some country music. Mm-hmm. I like 70s.
Yeah. Well, when we do special shows, we'll do like old country. My partner and I that do this together, we like the old stuff, like Hank Williams and, Bob Wills. And we'll do special shows, but on a typical rotation, he's a lot more adept with contemporary Christian music than I am. And we just throw it in the play mix. We don't have it like separated out. Like we'll play for an hour on Sunday morning. I mean, it's in there. So you might have Rolling Stones, and you may have, a couple of his favorites. He's more up to speed than I am on what's going on currently. So
that sounds perfect.
Well, that's why it is, because that way you can we want to treat it
everybody.
Music. Yeah, everybody gets a piece. So, here we're going to have, Leonard Skinner, and then we're going to have Amy. No, we don't have Amy Grant. That's not one of his, but
Casting Crowns or Mercy Me or
yeah, things like that. Yeah.
Lauren Daigle.
I don't know if that one's been on there, but my wife, she and you would have a lot more in common about their music because every time I get in the car, I have to listen to KLTY. Anyway, I'm digressing here. Now, you said you specialize in aviation.
I did. When I first got out of law school, I had an offer from 2 different firms, and I took the non-aviation job first because I knew that if I took the aviation job first, those risks are so big you wouldn't get in the courtroom. You wouldn't, you have to have some experience, I felt like. So I went to a civil defense firm. I had 15 trials under my belt in my first 5 years, which is almost unheard of.
Really?
I mean, 98% of cases settle. So I got in the courtroom. It was pretty cool.
You like to litigate more than just negotiate. Is that how it works?
No, you just you only litigation really is a last resort.
Real, I know. But you enjoy the litigation part.
I love the courtroom part. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know you work at behest of the client, and if they want to settle, they will.
Well, and sometimes, or most of the time, it's best to eliminate the risk. So that's my job, is to resolve their dispute as quickly and as inexpensively as possible. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. And in my firm, they knew, there were 30 lawyers, and if a case was going to trial, they knew I would want to do it. So
yeah, okay.
I got to go.
You like to debate, I guess, other attorneys. You like to talk to the juries and, all that
The jury
stuff.
are my people.
Okay.
The higher educated, those people don't often make it on the jury panel. It's the everyday folks, for the most part, who are on juries, and those are my people. I love them.
I've been called to jury duty like every other Texan in this area have been several times, but I've only served on a jury once. I keep getting struck. I guess I ask too many questions, or they think I'm going to be difficult, or the plaintiff and or the defendant were teachers, and they figured I'd have solidarity with my fellow teacher or something like that, so I got struck. But I've only served in one. It's been a while. It's been about 9 years. It was a very interesting experience, and I learned a lot about. And I teach Texas government, so I had a book knowledge of it, but I didn't have the experience. So I asked to be the foreman, so I could relate it to class, and it was a very interesting experience. And
I love the jury. I love representing somebody. In my opinion, most of the time, I've been on both sides of the docket. I've sued companies for racial, for age discrimination. I've defended companies in sexual discrimination cases. I've had car wreck cases, false imprisonment, and stopping some lady in the grocery store. I've had insurance fraud cases. I've defended the carriers.
So you do both plaintiffs and defendants?
Probably 98% is defendants.
Defendants, okay. Is that by choice, or just that's who comes to you?
Well, my biggest clients are insurance carriers. So if one of their insureds gets sued, they hire me to take care of them. So,
and that's interesting though. But the aviation, I'm going to go back to that for a minute. Was that in your mind when you were going through Baylor Law School?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't think, that's not like, I want to be an aviation attorney. That's a very specific
it's
field.
Fascinating.
Oh, really?
It's fascinating. After 5.5 years, I called them and said, hey, you guys offered me a job once.
Yeah.
Do you still need me? Because now I have trial experience. And they're like, yes.
Well, what is it? What kind of cases arise in aviation disputes and whatnot?
One, it's everything. It's everything. It just centers around the business of aviation. So I had one case. It was a wrongful death case where a helicopter was in a logging operation in Switzerland, and it took off, and the rotors separated.
That's bad.
It was bad. And when it made the loud pop, all of these workers came running out of the building to see what that noise was. And one guy got hit by the rotor and, needless to say, didn't make it.
I would imagine.
So it was an issue of, do they have to sue in Switzerland or can they sue here in the U.S.? I've had plane crashes in Mexico and in Cuba, and I had one where I sued the French government because
Well, good for you. They need suing.
our aircraft was taken off on a runway, and it had been serviced by a company owned by the French government, and the pilot gets this call from the air traffic controller. Captain, you're setting my runway on fire. And he turns around and there's fire blowing out the back of the plane, and he has to turn around and land it. So,
Oh, goodness.
yeah. I had a suit where a lady sued a flight instructor claiming that he sexually harassed her.
Do you do those cases still?
I'm on their approved list, but I haven't had an assignment for a
But
while.
you mentioned earlier, just a minute ago, about your typical clients are usually dealing with insurance related and maybe workplace related. That's the primary duties and whatnot. Now, in your firm, though, you have specialists and other things as well. It isn't strictly just that one.
Oh, no.
You know, I was just checking out your website and got this guy could do this and this lady could do that and all this other stuff. Do y'all do? You said you don't do family related law.
Our firm does not do family-related law, and we don't do criminal defense.
Okay, but
And those really are not because we legally can't do them, but that's a malpractice carrier. You have to go through and check the boxes you do, and we've never checked that box that we're going to do that.
this is kind of an odd question, but this is one thing I've always wondered. You get a client come in, and you find out maybe your client maybe wasn't straight with you. Ever had that situation? You know, maybe dressed up the information to make his case or her case look better, and you find out later that's not really what's going on. Do you have to have those kind of conversations?
I've had those conversations.
And say you misled me or something like that.
And if you straighten it out on the record, or I'm out of here. I am not going to suborn perjury.
Well, and I know several other attorneys, and I've asked them that question. They had the same answer. Said, "Look, I'm not in the business of."
It's not win at all costs.
Right.
I worked too hard for this license.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to take it away.
Right. Another friend of mine I went to college with, and he went to law school. I believe the South Texas School of Law. Is that right?
In Houston?
Yes, in Houston. And he said the same thing you did. He said, I'm not going to throw away my career on, trying to defend somebody who's lying to me.
Right.
So, and I think, you've heard all the lawyer jokes and all this other business, but almost all the attorneys I've ever met and known personally had a very high standard of conduct. They would not involve themselves in the stereotypical shady business of law. They were going to be, I'm going to represent the truth and my client and get my client the best deal as can, but we're not going to bend the information and the rules to do it.
No, I tell them, I said, there's bad facts. Just own up to them. Don't try to hide them. You try to hide them or mislead somebody about them, that's when a jury's going to get really mad at you.
Yeah.
So you just pony up, yes, I ran the red light.
Yeah.
Or whatever the bad fact is.
Right.
You just tee it up and accept it.
Yeah. That's good advice. But one other thing that also, when my dealings with attorneys have usually been on civil related stuff, like making sure a will is in order, my assets are in order, that kind of stuff. So fortunately, I've never been sued, and I don't plan on it. Okay, and but I also don't. I haven't been involved in the need for an attorney other than for family related stuff. Do y'all handle stuff like wills and
Yes.
do not resuscitate
Yes.
business on that? I had that done by an ex-student of mine who put it together for me about 6 years ago, and it was a great relief to my wife.
Yes.
She was, in fact, my ex-student, her maiden name was Taylor McPherson, and I'm sorry, Taylor, I can't remember your married name now. I know you got married a couple of years ago, but she works in downtown Fort Worth as well. And she couldn't believe I didn't have a will until I was,
It's so important.
I know. What happens if you don't have one? And you pass on?
Well, it can get really complicated. If you have children of another marriage and you remarry and have more kids and you don't have a will, life just got real ugly for your heirs. Just
Right.
real ugly.
Well, I remember like the late musician Prince did not have a will, and he was worth several $100 million and didn't have a will. That doesn't make any sense. You think all those people that worked for him would have made that clear to him, but he didn't want a will. And now there's like year 3 or 4 of fighting over his estate. And so that happened in much smaller level. So if I died intestate, is that the phrase?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. That it could take 3 or 4 years and a lot of expense hashing out who got what. Even if my 2 children and my wife, or well, let's say I left to my children, they get along fine. Even if they're cooperative with each other, it's still going to be a drawn out process, right?
Well, if you're only married to one person and you have children, it's real simple. It's not bad. But it's when it's yours, mine, and ours that it gets really complicated.
Yeah.
Or, because if you don't have any children, you're a single person. It goes to your parents. Well, if your parents are no longer married to each other, then it gets ugly.
Yeah.
There's just so many factors that just make it
Yeah.
ugly.
Yeah. My dad's attorney suggested he had something called a bucket list, and not so much, going around and doing all these things like people think of it, the bucket
Like the
list.
movie.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
like he's called that because it's the kick the bucket list basically, and it has all the stuff in there. So God forbid that my parents go anytime soon. It's all set up, and so that's what we did. We have it all set up, and my last dying request, I guess, is as I lie there in my deathbed, I'm going to give my wife the passwords, but that way, she won't, think twice. But but we have it set up that, okay, here's where this account is. This is where our insurance company. This is who you deal with for my wife's 401k or whatever else. And that you would advise doing that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a book you can buy on Amazon. I can't think of the name of it, but it is for that. You put in your passwords, you put in, where your accounts are, what the numbers are, where your life insurance policies are. I have more than one, and I'm going to make sure my husband knows where to go find them, because I handle most of the business. He handles his part, and I handle most of that. And one year we were getting ready to go on vacation. We were going to take our kids snow skiing. And I told him, you can't go till your will's ready.
Well, that's kind of what happened with my wife. Yeah. It wasn't so much we were going to take a trip, but she said, this summer we are going to have a will or a funeral. Take your pick.
Yeah.
So, And so we took care of that. And it took about a couple of weeks, to get it all together and have it notarized and all this other business. But does your firm does that though, right?
We have probate lawyers. We have estate planning lawyers. We have real estate lawyers. We have labor and employment people. We have people who can form and just unform companies, LLCs, corporations, whatever. We have, it's just general practice. Pretty much almost anything you can think of, we can take care of.
Yeah, and that was when I was promoting a show on Facebook yesterday and today. That was the aspect I wanted the listeners to know, is the importance of having their estates in order. Because particularly my younger listeners, a lot of my listeners are former students, and they're not kids. I mean, they're in their 30s or 40s in many cases. But I could tell you when I was in my 30s and 40s, I wasn't thinking about wills. I wasn't thinking about do not resuscitate type of arrangements. I wasn't thinking about
if you don't have one of those, I mean, that is the most difficult decision a loved one can make.
Right.
My brother passed away. He was 56 at the time. He had a brain aneurysm. And my mom, he wasn't married. And he had one son who was not able to make decisions.
Right.
And so my mom and my 3 sisters were at the hospital, and the doctor told us he's gone, but we've got him plugged up.
Yeah.
And he, of course, didn't have any paperwork. And that is a hard decision for a mother to sign that paperwork.
Would it be the mom's duty to sign that paperwork?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but we took care of that because we didn't want that kind of burden to be on my son or daughter. And I would just, I didn't would not want to spend a long period of time on that kind of situation on machines. It not just for the expense of it, but because it's time to go. And
Yeah.
to me, when the Lord calls my number, let's go. I'm fine.
It's a nice place on the other side.
Yes, and my parents did the same thing for my sister and I. My parents are in their 80s. Well, my mom's about to be 80, and my dad. I got my concerns about his health situation, but they've taken a lot of that burden off of us.
Yeah.
And they're people of faith, and so that part's taken care of, and that helps. But as far as having those arrangements done on our behalf, my sister and I, it's going to save us a lot of grief about how can we do this? How can we actually sign something that would end my parents' life or something like that?
It's just miserable.
Yeah, so it's already been signed, so to speak. And my dad's very organized because he also knew that he has a lot of longevity in his side of the family, but those last few years aren't that good. And so he wanted to make sure all these decisions are made while everything was still working 100%, and it's made a lot of difference. So
my mom, I told her, you're going to do this, and she did, and it made things so much simpler because.
Has she passed?
Yeah, my mom passed. I was actually in London, and I got the word my mom didn't wake up, and is actually, in part, it's a really interesting story because I'm getting my flight to come home early because I was over there for business. We represent underwriters, and so I'm waiting at the airport, and I get on the flight, and I'm sitting there, and it was just the most, it was a gift from God that I had 9 hours to myself to just cry and sob and not have to take care of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I made a list of things we had to take care of, like my mom's dogs and, I'm making this list. But it was just, I just got to just cry. And I get off the plane and there was a couple at the other end of the row for me. And I said, I am really sorry if I disturbed you. My mom, I saw you see that I was crying and my mom passed and I'm coming home. She goes, oh, I thought it was a scary movie and I didn't want to watch whatever it was.
Oh, my. Oh.
So, yeah, my mom's paperwork was all in order. And it is so easy in Texas. If your paperwork's in order and you don't have a complicated estate, all we had to do was sign an affidavit that this is my mom's will and the judge blessed it. And there's no probate.
Right.
It's just done.
Right. And, I'm not looking forward to that day, but I am glad that for my sister and I, that so much of this is already taken care of. And
that's a gift to your kids.
Yes, it is. And that's same with my two children. They're not going to have to worry about this stuff. And I'm glad of that because I just can't imagine having to make that decision. And I don't want that to all my kids. But also, as far as other types of family planning, I think a lot also, from what I heard, is that, not all couples work together on their finances, and when one passes, like, I don't know where these things are. I don't know the bank account number. I don't know where my insurance policy is. I just, my wife and I kind of split duties. She handles the insurance, and I tell you, that's who you should have hired as an attorney. Is my wife. She gets those insurance companies on the phone. She makes them cry. All right, my wife is very sweet and and very sweet voiced and all this, but you put her on the scrap, and she's gonna make them regret picking up that phone. And because she deals with the medical side of our family, and I deal with all the bills and all this other stuff, and we kind of keep each other apprised because we just
it's easier to separate the duties.
Well, not just that, but also if when your loved one passes, you don't want to be. You just want to focus on that as opposed to all this other stuff. You don't want to be worried about, okay, I now got to find out the passwords. I was kidding about the passwords. She has access to them. She insisted for some reason. That may be uncomfortable, but that's all right.
My husband knows mine too.
Yeah.
So it's good.
So we're coming towards the end here. We're getting close on time. And always let the guests have the last word. I'll run through the sponsors real quick, but you can have the last word, whatever you say. You can talk about yourself. You can talk about your testimony if you like. It's open forum. So anyway, Taylor, we will run through them here. Thank you, Daniel, CrossFit Burleson. 317 Southwest Wilshire. He's a former student, like I mentioned. That he's a very fine man, and he's married to a former student. They have a really sweet family, so I'm very pleased with their sponsorship. And so does this one, Shandy. She's another former student. She has a sweet family, and she can help you with the real estate transactions. She can help you with the financing through her husband Ronald. So give her a call if you're looking to move in and around this area. Thank you to Rex at the Russell Wealth Group. MyFinancialBox.com. Hit the link and get to know him. He'll have some coffee with you at our place, and y'all can get to talk about your 401ks and whatnot. Also, thank you to Kimmy, of course. Very sweet lady, and she's sweet. And she and Gayla both. I mean, there's some really nice people in our BNI group. Very nice. And I'm very pleased to be part of it. Anyway, Optavia, 817-789-1622. Now, you told me, who is it that brought you into BNI?
Russell.
And
Camille.
All right, Russell and Camille. Camille's got me in there too. She more or less insisted, so, and it's paid off for me a whole lot. But 817-789-1622. Tomorrow, Gayla will be there, so get ready. My wife really likes the jewelry at Southern Gem. She likes jewelry of all kinds, so get repairs. She's designing something for you. Is that what you told us earlier?
She is.
So she has that kind of talent and just full service jewelry over in the third floor of the Windmiller Building on Hidden Creek. Also, thank you to Otto. Thank you for everything you do at our place. I'll probably see you tomorrow if things work out like I want them to, because my wife wants to eat there, and she has a day off, so we may get breakfast or something there. Our Place Restaurant. Thank you, Otto, for everything you do on the highway in Alsbury. Thank you to Chris over at Wild Cigar and Culture. Remember the Super Bowl party. Also, Valentine's Day, of course, is on Monday, and so if you want to get gift cards or a box of cigars or whatnot, he's the place to do it. Also, I kind of backtrack here. Valentine's Day is a good day for jewelry too. I understand. At least that's what I've been told by Mrs. Allard. We'll find out. And Gayla. Well, yeah, but she must. I know several of the BNI people have been using her, and they all just rave about her. So, anyway, Wild Cigar and Culture. There you are. Thank you to Antonio and Proactive Payment Solutions with the POS.